Yep. Boom, boom.
Oh, it is now.
It's live now. We
Yeah.
we we all the way in there. I'm looking now. Hang on. This it's different when you're trying to run it live, man, and you got your own
Absolutely.
spin on stuff.
Absolutely.
Man,
Absolutely, man. All day.
what have you been up to today, man? You know what I'm saying? We got a lot of stuff to discuss, man. And hey, everybody go follow the Accountable Masculinity page too. You know,
Yeah. All
click the
that.
links, all of that, man.
Man, I've
Um,
been chilling, man. I've been grinding, hustling, working on a presentation I got to give next week for work. Um, man, been in a lot of thought today. Started even earlier this morning when it came to when I did a 4 mile walk this morning. I just been really had a lot of thought provoking thoughts. Thoughts that lead to other thoughts that lead to more thoughts that lead to more thoughts.
yeah,
That
the rabbit hole.
hopefully, yeah, that hopefully, it's all part of the plan. I was listening to something today and it was talking about how, you know, it's good to think through the process too. A lot of times it's quick to jump out there and want to do something. And I think it's a time and place for that. But I think it's also a time and place to just sit back, be still, and um, to think about things in depth. And I think a lot of times that's what we don't always take the time to do, because I mean, take time to think in depth.
Man, it's it's part of it. The whole evolution of everything, man. Like you change every day. Your expectations get adjusted by like your interactions with people, and then that slows you down, and you realize that, hey, man, you just gotta sit still for a minute and let it come to you. And a lot of times we're not afforded that opportunity. We got to go punch the clock, submit to a bunch of other standards and bureaucracy, and we can't really flourish in those environments the way we need to, and eventually
Mm-hmm.
that part of you is going to want to get out, and it's going to
Yeah.
come out in different ways.
Yeah.
Yeah, so man, hey,
Excuse me.
let's shout out to like we need to get somebody over here in these comments, man. You know what I'm saying? And before we get to it, because we got a lot to talk about, um, and I know you ain't got a whole lot of time. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
I appreciate that because I already know how much work you put in with uh with the guys. And shout out to Elevated Dialogue,
Yeah.
Antoine, Coach Dwyer, you know what I'm saying, EJ when he can pop in,
Yeah.
JL,
Yeah.
and, and all the other guests
Doctor.
that's showing up
Yeah.
too.
Dr. Easley.
Man, yeah. Shout out to Dr. East.
Everybody who's been on there. Kavanaugh, Chris from across the table.
Mm-hmm.
Shout everybody out
Man,
who's
yeah,
been
big
on
shout
the
out to Chris
show.
across the table, yeah.
Yeah, man. I think,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that's what kind of what we're probably going to talk about a little bit, going into the accountable masculinity, which is the topic for tomorrow.
Yeah.
So, it's something we've been putting off for a couple of weeks, and I'm kind of itching. Well, not kind of, I am itching to get into the conversation, into the topic and all of that stuff and hear what other people have to say about it. I know you defined the definition and stuff like that. So it's
Yeah.
going to be interesting to see, who's going to be on there tomorrow, who's going to show up, and then what their thoughts, experiences, and are going to be as it relates to that topic.
All right. So that's a good segue into, like us talking about it right now. Like, I want you to read the caption and, you know what I'm saying? We're going to work through it, like, I guess, paragraph to paragraph. You know what I'm saying? Some different talking points in there because we're going to have more time for expansion, but
Mhm.
just what are your takes on it? You know what I'm saying?
Let me pull it up real quick.
Okay. Yeah, like I want to have my folks engaged, man. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like we have very engaging conversations. That's how we got to this point. And you know, you put the tempo in place, you know what I'm saying, with elevated dialogue, you start getting it going. I was like, eventually he gonna challenge me to, you know what I'm saying, be more consistent over here too. So uh
Absolutely.
iron
We all
sharpens
gotta grow, man. That's part of the accountable masculinity. Like we gotta be accountable. And we kind of talked about it the other week when we was talking about who protects men. Like
yeah,
no one's coming to save men. So the only protection we have in some senses And Issa talked about it too. Is like we had to protect. Um, we say we got to protect ourselves. You know what I
Yes.
mean? That we protect
Hmm.
ourselves. But I think part of that comes down to putting yourself around men. I think we as men, we have to protect other men. You know what I
Yes.
mean? I think at the end of the day, that's really all we got. I need to be able to lean on my brother, lean on my sister. I mean, lean on my brother or something like that when I need something. I'm not saying that women you can't lean on them for certain things, but I think when it comes to masculinity and just certain things, I need to just talk to a man about it. And
Okay.
I think that it's okay for us to be able to challenge each other and hold each other accountable. I mean, like we got to be able to hold each other accountable if we following in the same circles because if we on the same show, like what you do affects me and vice versa. So
Yep.
we both have our own individual brands. We have our own individual things that we're working towards, and it's a team thing. Like we work together regardless, and our brands can sometimes affect each other's brands. That's why it's important to have the right conversation and the right people in your circle.
Yeah.
But I'll read
Absolutely.
the first one. I'll
Yeah.
read the first one. Um, Accountable masculinity. Men focus on men. Personal accountability standards amongst reasonable men without degrading women to improve our society. We aim to create solutions for the benefit of men by only discussing tangible outcomes based on our skills and networks.
So, how would you interpret that?
Well, first of all, if you look at the beginning part, it talk about amongst reasonable men. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? So even right there, that's taking a whole group of other people out of the conversation. If you don't consider yourself, or if you're not a reasonable thinking man, then this conversation is not even for you. Um, so that's what I'm looking at right off the top. Um, and then the part about degrading women to improve our society, like there's no need to degrade anybody to improve the society, whether it be men, women, dog, or cat. You know, um, I think there's a well, I ain't gonna touch on that. But like I said, we aim to create solutions for the benefit of men by only discussing tangible outcomes. And I think that when we say men, it's not that we're excluding men, or that not that we're excluding women. It's just right now the focus is on men. I have never been a woman. I don't know if I could train a woman to be a woman. But what I can do, I've been a man, most of my life. Um, some may differ, uh, some may beg to differ, but at the same time, at least I've been a male my entire life, and good, bad, or different the experiences and outcomes and different things that I've been through in my life, I probably have better chance of providing a solution to a man versus a woman when it comes to certain things, especially when it comes to about being a man.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Um,
What
I
about
went.
you? I know
I
you look at it, you wrote it down.
yeah. I know, and I'm looking at it, and I said it amongst like reasonable people, obviously. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? So I agree with all those things right there. I'm glad that you extracted that piece is to take a demographic of people that's motivated to solve problems and improve things and nurture, try to bring all of those people to the conversation. You know what I'm saying? So calling them out is key. Then
Yeah.
the fact that I mentioned improve society is that you got to be working on something that's greater than you,
Yeah.
because you have to have a reason, you know what I'm saying, beyond, you know, selfish moments. You know what I'm saying? You have to have less selfish moments. It's okay to be selfish, but you have to have less selfish moments, especially when, like you have something to contribute that everybody can benefit from, you
Mhm.
know, because in the reality that knowing that nobody else is coming to save us and nobody's going to understand our problems, you have to be useful, you know what I'm saying, to be in the network to begin with. So, like, reasonable men, in this conversation, they all have a skill and they all have something to contribute. You know what I'm saying? Point
Yeah.
blank, because you can't create anything without tools. You know,
Yeah.
so we expecting, that demographic of men to pay attention to these definitions and stuff. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So like, and they will evolve as they should. You know, we got to start somewhere though. You know,
Mm-hmm.
and no, and like, who's hating on, you know what I'm saying, being better?
Yeah, not
So
me.
no, I definitely not. Let's see here what we got. All right, uh, man,
We don't argue.
we
I
don't
read
argue.
it.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
good.
we don't argue with women. Women have their own issues, and so do men. We can learn to mitigate our issues by observing the conflict management skills of women instead of engaging in cyclic, negative competitions and unhealthy conflicts between women and implementing the findings into our philosophy. What's understood doesn't need to be said. Accountable men have code. We want solutions based conversations.
Okay, um,
It's-
pretty straightforward. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Like, we just have to have, it had to have like tangible reasons for us to pay it any attention.
yeah,
If it impacts us, then we need to pay attention to it. You know what I'm saying? Um, Outside of that, we need to mind our business. You know what I'm
yeah.
saying? That is the essence of it all. No matter what, everybody needs to mind their business so they can be better in working in the community.
Mhm.
Like,
I was just having a conversation about minding business, and one of the topics that came up was about when, and I know I don't want to, for lack of a better conversation talking piece, I'll just go with it, and it was about when Monique called out black women about their appearance and stuff like that, and how it was perceived or how it was received.
mm-hmm.
She got a lot of backlash for calling people out. But I think what she was trying to do, she had her reasons behind it, and I don't think we need to go into them. It doesn't matter. But she did something that she felt was going to help or benefit, her group of people, her tribe, which is black women, and they didn't like it. So, at what point do we, if we see something amongst men and someone's not doing what they're supposed to do, how much of it is our business to mind our business versus say something to that guy who may be affecting, the overall image of myself or anybody else?
um, I would say it's your business up to the point where you got to be able to distinguish what you can control versus what you
Mhm.
can only influence. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? And in some cases, negative people have a hard time staying afloat for the right reasons.
Mhm.
So if you consider the source of where the information is coming from, you'll pay it the attention that it can afford. You feel me? Like, if there's a big difference in, like, someone getting killed in a homicide versus
Mhm.
somebody being assassinated. You know what I'm saying? It's unfortunate, you know what I'm saying? Death is still the outcome, but one garners your attention a little bit more, even if you don't know anything about, like, the person that was assassinated. You
Mm.
don't care about that homicide though. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Because there's certain language that's designed to bring certain attention to it. You know what I'm saying? What should garner your attention, right?
Mhm.
So I think when you start seeing certain language communicated on a certain frequency, then that's when you know it's like, oh, that's not my conversation at all. It's like it's an invitation to leave it alone. The minute that you start noticing the language that other people use, that's your invitation to exit. So, and I think all of it comes down to self-preservation, narrow down what's important and what you're gonna commit your energy to. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that part. 'Cause I think we as men, it's okay to hold each other accountable, but I think you have to know which men you can hold accountable. Everybody doesn't want
That's fair.
someone to hold them accountable. You know what I mean? I think you
Yep.
have to want it. If I see somebody in the street and they're not doing what I perceive as a acting in a way that I perceive. Remember, I said I perceive as being beneficial, way their behavior is and stuff like this, what's beneficial to the image. And I may not say nothing, but if I'm around a group of guys and I know this dude is trying to work and he's grinding, he's hustling, I'm like, look, bro, you might not want to be posting stuff like this because you're trying to get ahead. Whether it's received or not, if I feel like I'm comfortable, we have a relationship to where I can say something, I'll say something. I don't know where that line is where you say something versus you don't say something when you see something, because whatever I see that may be out of line could also very well be subjective, and it could be based off of just my views. So
Yeah.
I don't know
I
when you say something when you don't.
yeah, I got it, man. Like I think when you it's just the flow of information happens so quickly. People's opinions can change. You know what I'm saying? Because they may be privy to a whole new set of information that they don't know anything about,
Mm-hmm.
and so it's up to the person with the information to give grace to those who do not have
Mm-hmm.
the capacity to take in new information. Because you gotta, a lot of people worlds are being destroyed. You know what I'm saying, with certain outcomes. Like there's a lot of realities that didn't exist for some people a few years ago that are completely new now. A lot of people didn't think that they'd be in whatever situation they were in, um, and I think that when you throw that survival layer to it, people start choosing where they give their energy to. Some stuff is just not as worth it as it used to be. Like down to concerts, down to large public crowds and stuff like that. You got to pick and choose when, like when you want to be exposed. Because that's really what you are. Um, but ultimately, what we want to get to is avoiding anything that leads us to unhealthy conflicts. And you got to think about the environment of where potential things can go down. You know what I'm saying? And you got to also assess the lack of response and empathy that's in the world too. You know, so self-preservation always comes down to it too. You know what I'm saying? So some of these beefs just not worth it. So beef where you can fix it if there's a beef at all. Man, what you got an audio problem, man? You breaking down over there? Let me see here. So let me take in a comment right here. Jason said, "What do y'all believe is the cause for lack of accountability within our community?" That sounds like a very that's a very hard question to, I would say, nail down, Jason. But I'm gonna say that it's a lot of different things. I would start with economics, because economics feed everything. If you got less resources, you got less resources to pay for better education. You got just less. So when you got less income, you're gonna have less of everything else that fuels the quality of life or allows you to apply what you're learning. So if you have less, um, I think that you'll just operate in survival mode, and accountability is optional. You know what I'm saying? It gets pushed to the right very quickly when it's about survival. So I think a lot of people are moving in survival mode, and if you can end the survival mode piece, I think you'll see a lot more accountability. It'll be less situations where survival mode is the only option. But let me see here. My man had a technical difficulty, but we're gonna keep rolling on. So we're gonna talk about decentralized leadership. It requires knowing when to lead and when to follow. Must avoid misrepresenting fellow men. Although we are not perfect, we must have redeeming efforts. So you got to be able to take instruction. You know what I'm saying? Constructive criticism. You got to be able to accept that you could be wrong. You have to be receptive to being, what I'm saying, coachable too. Because at some point, at any point, you could be in charge. And people gonna depend on you. You can't sit back and just fail because it's not in your wheelhouse. You have to find a way to be prepared for anything. So and in that, in preparation, you got to be prepared to lead or follow. You know what I'm saying, or support or just contribute in general. You can't expect to get something that you're not willing to offer either. And sometimes people require you to get your hands dirty. You know what I'm saying, for it to be true help, or it's disingenuous, or it's limited. But again, the conversation about getting yourself in position so you can be an asset to your community revolves around you having skill, being useful, and your skills going to determine where people are going to put you, if that's the case, or if you're going to lead. So first step in all of this right here is find a skill, be useful, so, and know when to step up and know when to step back. See, keyword was perception. Yes, perceptions, man. Perceptions drive a lot of different things, man. Perceptions drive reality for most people. And in perceptions, we're responsible for those to some degree, because you got to give them something. We can't keep loading up their ammo and then asking them to shoot it at us and then get mad, when they find a way, what I'm saying, to use our own, misrepresentations against us. So we have to be accountable about that too, because you can't have the continuity, the symmetry, and the synergy and all of that stuff without being realistic, about who you can work with and who you can't. And that's why we start off with working with reasonable people, so we can derail some of the negative perceptions before they even begin. Yeah. So let's see here. My man is back off on. Wait, where is he? He ain't back yet. Mm-mm. See what else we got up here. All right, so the next part is gonna be legacy and equity, right? Because in this early and budding philosophy of accountable masculinity, it's gonna take all of us to define it. You know what I'm saying? So within that, you got to have people with skills, people that are in place where they have the networks that can, get the message in the conversations that matter. Because a lot of us know a lot of people, but a lot of us uh, can do a little bit more by simply just having a different conversation, with other people that allow it, or just leading it. A lot of us are waiting to hear the right words, and we come from a culture that's been, led by the few, and that has shown us that it is a single point of failure in a lot of cases. So we need more of those people to do everything that they're doing at the same time too. You know what I'm saying? It's okay to have different tribes. It really is. We can work together, because we have all different principles. So that feeds into what I'm talking about next on this episode of Code Talk, is the legacy and equity portion of what accountable masculinity is aiming towards. Like, live a life of service to your community and others. So you must be credible and capable of both mentoring and being mentored. You must be receptive and coachable. Being able to instill knowledge and wisdom into others is an act of submission and a privilege. Man, look, it's shameful to get old and not be able to teach anybody anything, I think, and what was all of that, those negative experiences for in life, if you don't use them to your advantage. A lot of people appreciate wisdom, but they have no idea how that wisdom came about. And then a lot of us have wisdom that we do not impart because we feel like we might be bragging, or for whatever reasons. You know what I'm saying? Some people just don't want to be in front of other folks. Some people don't want to talk to people, and that's cool too. But we cannot be, um, we can't be resistant to the work that needs to be done to create the outcomes that we say we want. And like you have an opportunity every day, you know what I'm saying, to do something to make somebody else's life a little bit easier. Because how do you want to be remembered? You know what I'm saying, in a legacy piece. Because I mean, I think the most egregious thing I think a person can be in life is a burden to somebody else. So if you live your life to be successful and be an asset to the networks that you got that take care of you or whatever, I think that that's the reciprocal relationship that makes your life count the most too. You know what I'm saying? Because that's you're gonna live on in how people remember you. You know, um, everybody's got they respected time and throughout the day, and they gotta make a choice every day to do something that leaves a good mark, you know, in the sand, or carve their name out in the right way. And a lot of people got a choice to just sit there and not do anything, and feel like nobody ever cares about them. Because some people that feel completely justified with that, and all things are true. So whatever somebody remembers about you is what they remember about you. You know what I'm saying? So you gotta let them have their opinions. You know what I'm saying? Or you're gonna spend the rest of your life trying to wrestle your narrative back instead of just living it out. If you're a human being, then you should be doing too. So at some point you have to look at, hey man, why am I breathing every day? What am I doing with my breath? Besides probably burning up somebody else's ear in close proximity or getting on somebody's nerves. But hey, today is that moment, you know what I'm saying, where you get to say, yo, this is my lowest point. And you get to work on yourself, man, and that's part of what people remember too. Hard working, always trying to improve and work on behalf of his community or her community. Or you want to be remembered for, what I'm saying, negative things that we don't even mention because they're just negative. You know, um, we know what that cycle is. We need the reasonable people, what I'm saying, to be in the conversation. So when we take correction, we can accept correction better. You know, you're gonna accept correction better if you're operating in a reasonable community, where you're able to take in all the elements and make a decision that makes sense, based on your understanding of the environment, So that's the essence of minding your business. Now, I was looking to see if we had any other participation out there. And I appreciate everybody that follows my content. Oh, there he is right there. Got him back. Oh man.
Hey, I'm back.
What, boy,
Man, oh, it's
I tell
struggle
you,
streaming.
man, struggle streaming,
Yeah,
man.
you're part of it.
Where where do we go? What did I lose you at? You know what I'm saying?
Man, we were at, yeah, I
Let me,
didn't lost the,
bring you back here. We already talked about
yeah,
that.
we did that one.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
we were on the next one.
I think I brought you right here. Yeah,
Hmm. But I did want to, if you want to, address one of the questions in the chat.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I
Go
don't know if
ahead.
you saw it. Jason Bearfield,
Yeah,
shout out to you. I don't know you, but hey, appreciate you for
I got you. I got
for
you.
for tuning in. He said, "What do y'all believe? Pretty much, what y'all believe the cause for the lack of accountability within our community?" So, I'm going to assume that when he says community, he's talking about the Black community, and just like everything else, I can only speak for myself. But I think one of the things that has um call for lack of accountability within our community is the lack of accountability within our community. I think that we're not allowed to hold people accountable, and because you're not allowed to hold people accountable, people don't understand and appreciate the value of being held accountable. Because when you're held accountable, whether it be by someone else or yourself, it forces you to look at yourself and from a different perspective or from someone else's view. And when people can't hold you accountable, when you never see what accountability looks like, I think that, just right off the top of my head is one thing that is causing a lack of accountability within our community.
While you were what I'm saying, sorting out, you know,
Hmm.
I spoke on it,
Oh,
and I
you
said,
already did.
Yeah. I spoke on it. Well, you know what I'm saying, while I was covering for you. I appreciate that.
Okay. Yeah.
And I went back to it, and I answered the question and said that it's economics to me.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Because when you have less money, you have less resources, you have less of everything. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? And economics, talking about like in terms of scarcity, when you have people in economic scarcity situations, guess what you get? Survival instinct.
Mm-hmm.
And so you make a lot of survival decisions. And typically that's when accountability is out of the window. You know what I'm saying? When
Mm-hmm.
you make survival decisions. So I think if you follow, as in anything in a capitalistic society, you follow the money. You know what I'm saying? You're gonna find the problem.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that piece is very key because um, typically when you got situations like that, you got a lot of people that don't have a skill or a trade. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? Or something to put their energy into. Um, because when you have less in economics, man, you have less resources.
That's true. However, everybody that's in this community is not necessarily struggling or um, having problems with resources, but yet still have accountability issues. So we can speak for the people who may be um, living financially, not where they're supposed to be. But what about the guys who do have the resources? The guys who in our community do have resources. They're not, they don't have to wait until payday before they can pay this, or they're not struggling to pay bills or living paycheck to paycheck. And I don't want to go to the rappers and entertainers. They kind of do their own type of thing. They
Yeah,
kind of make their
we not
money
even talking
different.
about it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so not even them, but like guys who may make 70, 80, under 100 but over, the in the 40s. Someone who may
okay.
making 60 to 80. What's the problem with their accountability? Because if I guess I'm assuming that Jason is talking about all people in the community. So
Yeah, I mean,
the
I think
entitlement.
it's just too many. It's too big of an element. Like
Yeah, it's too big.
it's way too big. You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? Like when you got a question like that in one sentence, you know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
It triggers so many different
Yeah.
angles to it, and eventually it's a think tank and it's a case
Hmm.
study, and
Yeah.
you know, it's almost like why is water wet?
Yeah.
You
And I
know,
don't think
like
it's one.
no, it's not just one avenue.
It's probably not probably it's a plethora of things that you know what I mean. It's a
and
cause
and and,
for it.
and that's why I started off with economics because most of these conversations just based on people in like a certain income bracket because I don't think that people in 1% communities care about what the cause of a lack of accountability is in their community. You know what I'm
No.
saying?
And
And
accountability looks different in those communities too.
yeah, and which communities are you part of? Because everybody
Hmm.
that looks, you know what I'm saying, everybody that's black ain't in the same community, fam. You know what I'm
Absolutely.
saying? We got
Yep.
different tribes and
Hmm.
different, and that's the way I look at it. You know what I'm saying? If you go to a different country, a tribe over here might have these types of customs, and a tribe over here might have these types of customs. You know what I'm saying? I look at it the same way because you can go. That's the difference between somebody that's from the East Coast. They talk a different way than somebody from the South, from the West. That's what makes them sound like they're
Yeah.
from somewhere else. You know what I'm saying?
You
So,
look at New
so I
York,
yeah, like
Tims and
real,
boots.
like so I just respect. You know what I'm saying? Like that boundary. So if somebody's talking negative and it leads to a negative outcome based on, I'm like, oh, they're part of that tribe. You feel
Hmm.
me? You know what I'm saying? So like, and they are free to do whatever they want to because it's not my business at that point. You feel me?
Hmm.
So I'm only talking like the folks that want to get old, the folks that want to
Yeah.
live a comfortable life. You know what I'm saying, and be able to sit back and and count, you know what I'm saying, like all of that time they put in to get to that moment. People that's already seeing, like what life is gonna look like for them when they turn 60 and 70 and 80. Those are the people that don't have to have, you know what I'm saying, as much of that conversation as some who are focused on something that happens for them in the next 2 years. So you
Yeah.
just want to do it in a responsible, in a cool way, man. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't want no problems. You
Yeah, I
know,
don't want no problems.
I
I'm
don't want
done
no
with all
problems,
my
man.
problems.
You
I
know,
had enough problems.
man, it's it's the time now where you can kind of like sit back and be like, yo, I survived that, and I can do it my way. Like you don't have anybody else that's probably, you know, as old as you or older that's generally doing exactly what you want to do anyway. So you got to still find your own way, you know,
Yeah.
especially now, you know, and a lot of people, you know, talk about kids having them, you know, like transitioning and getting out of the house and that anxiety that they see in that child, you know what I'm saying, go through whatever. So they reluctant to push them out or anything like that. Man, adults in their 40s got the same anxieties about, you know what I'm saying? Hey, what's it gonna look like when I turn this age or that age?
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm not, you know, I'm not 30 and I'm not 50.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And like you're 46.
Mm-hmm.
So like
I
I
look
think,
good for 46 too.
hey man, look,
Hey,
hey,
hey, we say all things are true.
all things are true, man. You know what I'm saying? But like what are we gonna hang our hat on? You know what I'm saying? At
Mm-hmm.
this age in our 40s, man. You know,
Yeah.
like like I feel real motivated about anything that I put my hands on because it's rooted in I'm saying a good place. I have good intention and that's part of like the philosophy of being you know an accountable masculine man. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
That's what the philosophy of accountable masculinity is about. So it's about being proud to say, hey, this is what I bring to the table, and then bringing whatever that talent is to the table amongst other people that's ready to do the same type of work too. Because like we work so much for everyone else, and now that we know how this game is played, it's time for us to work for ourselves. Like, and in the irony that to work for yourself or to enjoy the work that you're doing for self, you have to network with other people that are also working on themselves too.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the because you have to. You're not going to attract what you're not becoming.
Mm-hmm.
Like you want to be in the midst of people that you can learn from. Well, you got to submit to learning. You got to submit to correction. You know what I'm saying? If you want access to people that can put you in a better space than you can put them.
And what comes along with
And what
learning?
comes along with learning? You know what I'm
Because some
saying?
people say,
Yeah,
I want to go to college, but then are you really prepared for what comes along with going to college? Because you got papers and you got essays and
you got obligations,
you got obligations when it comes to going to school. And anything that you do, it ain't just I want to do this and that's it. There's a process that goes into anything that's worthwhile.
bro.
Um,
Like, and we don't even have enough time in the day to get to every single thing that we want to do.
oh, absolutely not.
Like it's just not, man. We had what three or four meaningful conversations a day already. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
That
Yeah,
all
I had
should
a
be
couple with my
recorded,
brother. I've been on the
right?
phone all day.
Yeah, man. Like, but now, like at this stage where I can see how I can manipulate my outcome, what I'm saying, in a positive way to my, to my benefit and the people around me, whatever. I take the moment to have those conversations, you know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? Because that's really where it's at now. It's not in anybody else's structure. You learn that because you work in those structures, you know what I'm saying? Um, we used to have people that would have anxiety, you know what I'm saying, attacks because they was thinking they was gonna get a job but it didn't work, or you thought you was gonna make this amount of money, then the contract folded over here. Whatever structure was out there was nothing dependable at any point. You know what I'm saying? And a
Mm-hmm.
lot of these major changes happened while you had existing obligations. You know what I'm saying? So even if you fighting through it, or whatever you fighting through, there's still merit in that if you're doing it the right way. Because that's where the real um, the real currency is in the story and
Okay.
living it out and overcoming it. You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of people, generally speaking, ain't good at anything. So they can live their life out loud and be loud and wrong, and only people are gonna remember that particular individual is going to be the folks that was there with them. You know what I'm saying? If
Mhm.
they're even still here. So if they die, then that person, it's like that person never existed. You know what I'm saying? So
Yep.
you got to figure out where you're gonna play. You know what I'm saying? Where how your life is gonna play out, and how much control over do you want to have. So especially when again we're seeing a lot of things cycle back and play itself out. And like, man, I've seen this before. You know, just got a different name on it. You know, and it's a different situation. You know, so but yeah, legacy and equity, man.
Yeah. Let me read
Yeah,
that. Live in live in life.
live
Live
a
in life of service. Live a
life. Well, what's in that glass?
Hey man, I got that. I think just like that Italian crystal. I think I got this in Iraq. Like the first deployment, like back in like oh 05, oh 06, man. And I was able to bring it back. I didn't break none of the glasses. All the glasses got broke when I came back.
Hey, you probably had it soaked in JP8 before you poured it in
And who knows what it was soaked in.
there.
Live a life of service towards your community and others. You must be credible and capable of both mentoring and being mentored. You must be receptive and coachable. Being able to instill knowledge and wisdom into others is an act of submission and a privilege. Um, I
And you
like
work
all of
in
that.
education. Yeah, you
I
work in
work in
education. So,
education.
so tell me what you think about that.
Um, I was on did a podcast with Dr. Easy one time, and he said if you can't teach kids, then if you can't teach kids, you can't teach. And I was just like, 'cause kids are different. You know what I mean? We all used to be a kid, but I don't think you really understand what it's like to be until being a parent is different than being an educator. Totally different.
Yeah.
Um, two totally different perspectives, two totally different points, two totally different everything.
Hmm.
There is some overlap, but there are two totally different roles. But um, I like, living a life of service towards your community and others. It can look different ways. I think one is the act of doing, and then I think the one is the act of not doing. When I say doing, that's mean you're actively doing something for your community, whether it be, picking up trash, whether it be donating this, whether it be teaching little league or whatever. I think a service, an act of not doing service where you can still provide a service. I don't know if I'm saying that right. Where you still can live a life of service to your community, but you're not doing anything actively. And that what I mean by that is you're not being a burden on your community.
Man, look, the
Um,
greatest. Hey, look, that's, again, the most egregious thing a human being can be is a burden to
a
somebody else.
burden. Yeah. So sometimes it's not always being actively doing something for your community. I think sometimes it could be what you're not doing. Because if
Yes,
you're not causing problems, you're not causing ruckus, you're not getting the police called on
you got a
you at your
problem.
house all the time, you're not causing no problems, then go and you just want to be a hermit and live in your house and not cause no problem. That's fine. I'm that's for me, that's okay. And I'm okay with that community with that service toward the community because that means that my tax dollars ain't got to go towards that person. You know what I
Yep.
mean?
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah, added value, man. That's just
added
it.
value.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Sometimes added value is just simply not taking away
exactly.
somebody else's opportunity. You know what I'm
Yep,
saying?
yep. Or
Like,
causing problems. Just, dude, if you want to go and get high and get drunk every weekend, that's fine. Just do it over there all the way. Leave people alone. Don't cause no problems for the greater community.
yeah,
And I think most people are okay with that.
man,
Um,
yeah, because generally speaking, most people would agree
mhm,
that they just want to be left alone
mhm.
and they want varying degrees of socializing, but largely
And
people would just want to be left alone. You know what I'm
and that's
saying?
fine. People want to engage and socialize on their on their level, on
Yeah,
their terms. You know
absolutely.
what I mean? And
Yeah,
just because some people may decide to stay in the house and others may go out, you know, it is what it is. Like I was saying, somebody said something to me the other day. It was like, man, you finally out the house. And I'm like, look, man, I go out the house when I want to, when I need to. It's
yeah,
like I work, I pay a mortgage, and I enjoy being at home. So to me, to work hard all week long to pay a mortgage and then to not spend time in your most valuable asset, I don't get it. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
I,
Um
I completely understand that. Like,
so some
brother,
people they out every weekend. Gone, gone, gone. I was like, man, why you just live in your car? You know, because you're always on the road. Like, why you pay a mortgage if you always gone? Like, get an RV. I understand you may want to have something to. I don't know. I maybe some people don't like being at home, but I enjoy being at home.
yeah,
Um,
mhm,
you must
man,
be credible and capable of both mentoring and being mentored. That's key, man. Like we've had this conversation before. I don't want to be the smartest guy in the room. You know what I mean? Um, and mentoring and being mentored, I think can come in different levels. I know there's the book the book meaning behind it, but I think when you can open up and allow someone to pour into you, I think that can be a sign of being mentored. And doesn't have to necessarily be a certain person. I think there is something to be said for having a mentor as well. But I think but like at the same time, this goes back to that first sentence. You can be when it comes to the mentoring and mentor, as long as you're not causing any problems, if you and open to being mentored, but you can't mentor, you can't, you can be a mentee, but you can't mentor. That's fine. Don't
that's
mentor.
fine.
Don't
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 mentor.
don't give nobody no bogus information.
Yep,
Cause
well,
yep,
that's harder to correct.
yes, you withholding your bogus information is a service toward our community. So
Yes,
keep it to yourself.
yeah. So,
And yeah. And this
absolutely,
goes back to receptive and coachable. It goes right back to that same sentence before then. And it's similar to us being able to instill knowledge and wisdom in others. And it is an act of submission because in order for you to instill knowledge and wisdom in someone, um, it's an act of submission on your part because you have to be willing to give something that you have and
yes.
something that you only have because only you have your experiences. Um, you
Authentic experiences, man.
authentic experience. Oh, you may have the same information and same knowledge base as someone else. Like we both went through a school counseling program. We know a lot of the same things, but at the same time, what we do with that information and wisdom that we have acquired, it is an act of submission to give that away because especially if you give it away for free. You know
Man,
what I mean?
look, can't tell you, you know what I'm saying, how many times I've met certain people and then I just gave them my book and, just wrote my information in it and just handed it to them because I got more out of listening to them talk or ask questions or just even the fact that they want to even have a conversation with, you know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? And getting the opportunity to uh, be the ambassador for my own brand, you know what I'm saying? And having something to contribute on multiple angles and not being a gimmick, not being, you know what I'm saying? Like a lot of people want to get into business for themselves and you got to be transparent and authentic, you know what I'm saying? So like you have to practice that because that's what you hope. That's the type of business that you want to be involved in, right? You know what I'm saying? Like that you want to attract. So you have to be willing to get your head bumped a couple of times, have your expectations met and reset, and understand that there's a greater reason why you're doing what you're doing. Again, you got to be connected to something greater than you. You know what I'm saying? So once you understand that, whatever you're dealing with in the present, that's just the cost of doing business. No different than you go to work and it's probably you don't like changing out the toner in the copy machine, but you know how to do it. You know what I'm saying? And it got to get done. Or you're gonna be hearing everybody else complain. Somebody got to step up. And
Yeah, somebody got to do it.
as simple as that is, trying to stabilize an environment and keep people motivated, you can't do it when you got people complaining. You just can't.
Yeah.
So you got to fix whatever makes people complain.
We had a conversation yesterday about people that complain. Yeah, nobody want to be around anybody that's constantly complaining.
Yeah, because if you complaining, you probably not fixing that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like for real. Like
Mm-hmm.
in the scale in the scope of men and how we deal with, you know
Mm-hmm.
what I'm saying, negativity and where we place that, we've been vetted in very, very on varying degrees, you know what I'm saying? Because if you played any type of sport or played anything in some organization or played a role in an organization, you've been vetted to be in that space. Whether you stayed there or came out of it, you got vetted during your time, you know what I'm saying? Whether you were a candidate for it or you actually achieved the position, you perform the duties, and you know what I'm saying. They rate you on the metrics, and you really set the pace of how you exit a place. Sometimes, you know what I'm saying. So that's why it's important to have something that goes beyond the right now, because a lot of things gonna try your patience if your ultimate goal is to make this Friday better than last Friday. You know what I'm saying? And that's a week to week, thing. We got to start thinking a little bit longer than that because we already been here longer than what we thought was gonna be, bro.
Yeah. Yeah.
trying
That part.
to regroup, trying to reinvent yourself. You know what I'm saying,
Yeah,
for a
man.
good reason. Like
Yeah.
not reinvent yourself just so you can, like lead some kind of, like a life that just doesn't pass the common sense test, but like just share what you learning, man. You know what I'm saying, about yourself. Because hey, and if mental health is such a big deal, we need to be having group therapy themed conversations then. You know what I'm saying, to deal with the shortage. Because if we just gonna keep talking about what we don't have in mental health, we're just complaining at some point. We recognize that there's a lack of capacity, and we recognize that at the minimum, when they start talking about, you can prevent suicide by simply just intervening by saying talk to somebody or whatever, right? Well, is that not like, what I'm saying, group therapy in itself? If they say anybody ever listen or somebody talk to them or whatever, we got to start jumping in, what I'm saying, and creating group therapy spaces, you know what I'm saying, for ourselves too,
Yeah.
because we benefit by having a conversation in our own, what I'm saying, individual households.
Yeah.
And like transitioning from like the reason why we having this conversation for accountable masculinity is that there's a lot of lines that have been drawn based off of popularity contests, names, phraseology, or whatever, and it's been weaponized in some cases for both good, bad, and whatever. But like I want to, I want us to capture the narrative and create and capture the narrative that accountable masculinity wraps up all of these other side conflicts. You know what I'm saying? Get beyond that beta alpha stuff, and you know what I'm saying. And I don't hang around those conversations much, but I knew that they existed. And the one thing that I could tell is that both people that's involved in those types of beef, neither one of them are alphas either. So I just choose like to like why like what's the point? You know what I'm saying? If the overall goal is just to be a better brother to your community, you know what I'm saying? A better father, a better son, or whatever, like who cares? Like, who cares about the romantic character of somebody else? Or however that is, you know what I'm saying? I think that most people just know in their place.
Yeah. I think, whether or not we want to use the terms or not, I think that it's all kind of scalable. I think that even amongst alpha males, there are still alpha males. Like if
Oh, absolutely.
let's just take let's look at someone who we may perceive as being elite. Let's look at someone like Special Forces or Navy SEALs or something like this.
Yeah,
Even amongst those guys, there's
that's
always
still
a hierarchy.
yes.
Um,
Hmm.
what alpha or beta may be considered. I think it's only useful to talk about in order to as a reference point.
Bingo.
Um, but situations sometimes dictate how much, you know what I mean, people's, it's easy to use the analogy like lions and animals and stuff like this, but the reality of it is we're really not like them. We don't socialize like them. Um,
Nope.
Similarities, but we are very different, even though we're a lot similar to a lot of animals. Like, even though we're a lot similar, we're the only ones who like talk like we talk. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Who, do the things that we do. Um,
Yeah.
I
So
don't know. I don't know. It's a
I,
lot.
I, I think I think overall, like you just said, it's a reference point,
Yeah, it's
which
a
is
reference
why
point. That's it.
the era of accountable masculinity is designed to replace that conversation. Like that's
Yeah.
the era that we can close the chapter on because
Yeah.
now we're just talking about doing the right thing.
Yeah, because I think the negative part about those two terms is that it automatically comes with a list of this is what you are. If you're an alpha, then you're A, you're B, you're C. If you're beta,
Predetermined,
you're
yeah.
yes, it's that. So you're predetermining how someone is based off of a term that's not just as
It's not a
it's
universal
not it's
fit.
not yeah, it ain't just black and white. You know what I mean? Because
Yeah,
like I said, even amongst alphas, there's hierarchies. Even amongst betas, there's hierarchies in that. I mean, you look at hyena males, like there's still hierarchy with the ones that's in the back that eat
yeah,
the even the 7 or 8 that don't really get to eat to the end. There's one who gotta wait, you know what I mean, even after that. So
yep.
there's always gonna be hierarchies and stuff like this, and, um, I I get it, I understand it as a
hmm
reference point, but that's really all that I
That's
really get out of it.
that's all it
But that's
is.
just me,
Yeah,
until I get new information that, you know, m where I change or adjust my thought process, that's kinda where I see about it, so, um
yeah.
because
I
the
look.
alpha males submit. You know what I mean? I mean, it's like I don't know. It's like it's not like an alpha male don't cry and I don't know. A lot of
And
things are
that's why
subjective
the
anyway.
conversation's so dead about it. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
it's
It's
ridiculous.
like it's unnecessary. Like, does the individual, you know, do well by his community? You know what I'm saying? Is that person is their house flourishing?
Yeah.
Is
Are
it
you
elevated?
accountable to
Are
yourself,
you accountable to yourself? You
your
know what I'm saying?
family?
Right. You know what I'm saying? Are you
Mm-hmm.
constantly looking for improvement? Well, that's
Mm-hmm.
all we care about. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And that is the part that I think deserves a discussion because you need at least three, you know what I'm saying, key pieces that work with each other, Like, I don't care what your principles are, you need at least three, Well, consider, you know what I'm saying, at least three. That's kind of like the design on the book, right? You know what I'm saying? It's three
Mm-hmm.
arms, you know what I'm saying, three sets of hands joined together because you can pick your own three principles that make your household, you know what I'm saying, is what it's supposed to be. And you need to create a symbiotic relationship with those things so one always supports the other. And I think you got enough in that little philosophy to create, you know what I'm saying, whatever your accountability structure looks like, because everything that you give your energy to has to be a return on investment on what
Mm-hmm.
drives what you do every day, man. You know what I'm saying? You
Yep.
got to protect your access to your talent too. So, because a bad decision can take you away from it, and um, and there's a lot of things that can just happen as well outside your control that can take you from it too.
Yeah.
So,
Real quick.
real quick, bro, you know what I'm
Real
saying?
quick. One decision.
Yeah, man. Hey, I appreciate you hanging out with me for this hour, man. You wanna
Hour
drop
already.
yeah, it's been an hour already, man. Go ahead and
Mm.
drop something for elevated dialogue, man. You know what I'm saying?
Man. Hey, first of all, I appreciate you um inviting me on the show tonight. I know we're gonna be getting at it for another few more weeks. I don't know if you're gonna drop your information about what's to come, but I'll leave it up to you. I'll put it in the private chat. I hope I put it in the private chat. Yes, in the private chat.
Yeah,
But yeah, man, elevator dialogue tomorrow night, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Me, Vic, we're gonna be going even more in detail about elevated dialogue. And even if we don't go into more detail, we're gonna have other men giving their perspective, talking points, and experiences about it. So tomorrow, like I said, the Uncle Junior Network, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And I know we're gonna be back next week, probably next week
Yeah.
Tuesday, 7 p.m.
Yep.
Yeah, man.
So, hey man, look, hey guys that's tuned in, we're doing like some pop-ups. We're gonna start getting them back on a consistent frequency. Um, on Tuesdays, Code Talk will be live. And just like you're watching right now, uh, we just plugging away and you know what I'm saying, and doing a group economics thing too when it comes down to sharing information that can make us all, you know, live a little bit better and take care of our own
Mm-hmm.
households. And it's a lot of things that people in our network have already done that I don't have to go repeat just because I got those people in my network. You know what I'm saying? You need to become that person in your network that can save somebody else from having to repeat, your mistakes. So that's the cost of being, you know what I'm saying, in the position of wisdom. So uh, hey, find your pillars for accountable masculinity. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
do that.
And do your work. With that being
Facts.
said, vow.
Mm.